The metal doors slid open with a soft hiss as Ambassador Jaiwan Park stepped onto the observation deck of Proxima Station. Stars glittered through the massive viewport, framing the blue-green planet below. This neutral ground, halfway between human and Caldarian space, had been chosen carefully for the peace talks. Jaiwan smoothed her formal gray suit and touched the silver dove pin on her lapel, a gift from her daughter before leaving Earth 3 weeks ago. The weight of 4 billion human lives rested on her shoulders. One wrong word could mean war with an empire that had ruled this sector for over 2,000 years. "The Caldarians have arrived, Ambassador," said Sunwoo, her young aide. His eyes betrayed his nervousness despite his professional tone. "Thank you." Jaiwan kept her voice steady. "Remember what I told you, they respect confidence above all else." The Caldarian delegation entered from the opposite side of the circular chamber. Emperor Taehan led them, tall and imposing with his ceremonial armor gleaming under the lights. 6 royal guards flanked him, their energy weapons visible but powered down as agreed. "Ambassador Park," the Emperor acknowledged with the barest nod. "Let us finish what we started yesterday." Jaiwan bowed slightly. "Of course, Your Majesty." They took their places at the round table. Holographic displays appeared, showing disputed star systems along the border. For 3 days, they had argued over mining rights, colony placements, and shipping lanes. Humans had expanded quickly in just a century of space travel, too quickly for the Caldarians' comfort. "Humanity accepts the proposed limits on military deployment in the Rigel sector," Jaiwan said, making her first concession of the day. "However, our colony on Proxima B cannot be abandoned. 10,000 families have built their lives there." Emperor Taehan's silver eyes narrowed. "You arrived only 20 years ago. The Caldarian Empire has claimed that system for millennia. Yet you never settled it," Jaiwan countered. "Under Galactic Accord rules." "Rules written without our input," interrupted Minister Hyojin, the Emperor's chief advisor. Jaiwan noticed the Emperor's hand signal, a subtle gesture to Hyojin to stand down. Interesting. Was the Emperor more willing to compromise than his advisors? "Perhaps we can find middle ground," Jaiwan offered. "Shared governance of the Proxima system, with human settlement limited to the current planet." For a moment, she thought she saw consideration in the Emperor's expression. The negotiations continued through the morning. Subtle shifts in position, careful wording of agreements. By midday, Jaiwan felt cautiously optimistic. They were making progress. During the meal break, Sunwoo approached her with a data tablet. "A message from Earth, Ambassador. President Minju is pleased with the progress." Jaiwan smiled. "We might actually prevent a war, Sunwoo." "The humans seem confident," said a voice behind them. Minister Hyojin stood there, her expression unreadable. "One might wonder why." "We simply want peace, Minister," Jaiwan replied calmly. Hyojin's lips tightened. "Peace on your terms, perhaps. Your kind spreads like a virus." Before Jaiwan could respond, the chimes sounded for negotiations to resume. As they returned to the chamber, she noticed Emperor Taehan deep in conversation with his military commander. Their voices were low, but their body language suggested disagreement. The afternoon session began with renewed tension. The Emperor's conciliatory tone had hardened. Every proposal from the human side was met with resistance. "Your Majesty," Jaiwan finally said, "yesterday you seemed open to the shared administration proposal. Has something changed?" The Emperor studied her for a long moment. "You humans are remarkable creatures. In just a century, you've gone from primitive planetary wars to challenging empires thousands of years your senior." "We learn quickly," Jaiwan said. "Adaptation is our strength." "Indeed." Something cold flickered in the Emperor's eyes. "Perhaps too quickly." Jaiwan felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced at Sunwoo, who subtly shook his head. Something was wrong. "I believe we can reach an agreement today," Jaiwan pressed on, forcing confidence into her voice. "The framework we've established could bring centuries of peace between our peoples." She stood to activate the main display, preparing to show her final proposal, the compromise she'd been authorized to offer. The shot came without warning. A beam of energy pierced the room, striking Jaiwan directly in the chest. She didn't even have time to cry out. Her body crumpled to the floor as chaos erupted around her. Through fading consciousness, she heard Sunhwa scream and saw the Emperor's face. Not shock. Not surprise. Satisfaction. As darkness claimed her, Ambassador Jaiwan Park realized the terrible truth: the Caldarians had never wanted peace. Her death would be the spark that lit the flames of war. The room fell silent as President Minju entered the emergency chamber. Dark circles under his eyes revealed 3 sleepless nights since Ambassador Park's assassination. The curved walls of Earth's central government hall displayed the faces of colony leaders joining remotely from across human space. Everyone knew why they were here. Report, President Minju ordered, his voice tight with controlled emotion. Admiral Hyunbin stepped forward. The old military man's weathered face betrayed no emotion, but his hands gripped the podium tightly. Ambassador Park's body has been returned to Earth. Analysis confirms she was killed by a focused particle beam consistent with Caldarian Royal Guard weapons. He tapped a control, and a hologram appeared showing the energy signature analysis. The angle of impact could only have come from Emperor Taehan's security detail. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. President Minju raised his hand for silence. Continue. The Caldarians claim it was a rogue assassin. They've executed someone they identified as the killer. Admiral Hyunbin's mouth tightened. Our intelligence indicates this person was already sentenced to death for unrelated crimes. A convenient scapegoat. General Yunji, commander of Earth's defense forces, stepped forward next. Madam President, Caldarian battle groups have moved to high alert status. They're positioning fleets near our colony worlds at Proxima, Tau Ceti, and Wolf 359. They mean to intimidate us, said Defense Minister Juno. To see if we'll back down after losing our chief diplomat. President Minju closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, all signs of fatigue had vanished, replaced with cold determination. Show them, she ordered. Admiral Hyunbin activated another display. Secret surveillance footage played, showing Emperor Taehan speaking with Minister Hyojin before the assassination. Though the audio was unclear, advanced lip-reading software displayed the translation. Once the human is eliminated, their colonies will be easy to reclaim. Their technology is generations behind ours. Asterisk. The chamber erupted in anger. Colony leaders shouted for immediate action. President Minju let the outrage burn for several moments before raising her hand again. Admiral, what is your assessment of our military readiness? Admiral Hyunbin straightened his shoulders. The Caldarians believe our fleet consists of the 200 ships they've observed. They believe our weapons technology is limited to conventional mass drivers and low-yield energy weapons. A small, grim smile touched his lips. They are mistaken. He activated a secure display. The room fell silent again as classified images appeared showing massive shipyards hidden in Earth's asteroid belt and beneath the ice of Europa. Hundreds of warships, far more advanced than anything humanity had publicly revealed. Operation Silent Shield has been active for 20 years, the Admiral explained. While our diplomats sought peace, we prepared for the possibility of war. The Caldarians see humans as primitive upstarts. They don't realize how quickly we can adapt and innovate when threatened. Defense Minister Juno added, our new quantum shift drives can outpace their best ships. Our phase shield technology can withstand their main weapons. We've been studying them while letting them underestimate us. President Minju looked around the room, meeting each person's gaze. The choice before us is clear. We can retreat from the stars, abandoning our colonies and limiting ourselves to our home system. Or we can show the Caldarian Empire that humanity will not be bullied, assassinated, or contained. She stood straighter. I've already reached my decision. I'm asking for your support. One by one, the council members and colony leaders voiced their agreement. There was no dissent. Prepare the broadcast, President Minju ordered. All channels, all languages, all worlds. 30 minutes later, her image was transmitted across human space and directly into Caldarian communication networks. Her voice was calm but unyielding. 3 days ago, Ambassador Jaimun Park was murdered during peace negotiations by direct order of Emperor Taehun. This was not just an attack on one person. It was an attack on humanity itself. Today, the United Earth government, with unanimous support from all human colonies, declares total war against the Caldarian Empire. On his throne world, Emperor Taehun watched the transmission with amusement. He turned to his generals. The humans declare war? With their primitive ships and limited numbers? He laughed. Let them try. It will make our conquest all the easier. His Grand Admiral looked less certain. My Emperor, our intelligence suggests. Their technology is centuries behind ours, the Emperor interrupted. Their worlds are lightly defended. This will be a simple exercise. As he spoke, alert signals began blaring across the command center. Reports flooded in of unknown human warships appearing throughout Caldarian space. Not using standard jump points. Not following known routes. Emperor Taehun's smile faded as the first explosions lit up the tactical display. Humanity had prepared in secret. And now, the Empire would learn exactly what they had awakened. Captain Jai-Hai Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, studying the holographic display of the Caldarian military outpost orbiting Deneb 4. The massive station, shaped like a spiked wheel, housed 5,000 Imperial troops and served as the command center for the entire sector. Taking it would be a statement that couldn't be ignored. Status report, she ordered, her voice calm despite the weight of the moment. Lieutenant Juno checked his console. All ships in position, Captain. Quantum field stable. The Caldarians still show no sign of detecting us. Captain Jai-Hai nodded. The quantum stealth technology was humanity's greatest secret, developed 15 years ago but never revealed to alien eyes. While the Caldarians believed human ships needed standard jump gates to travel between stars, the truth was far different. Prepare jump calculations, she ordered. Target coordinates directly inside their defensive perimeter. Her executive officer, Commander Jin Young, raised an eyebrow. Inside their shields, Captain? That's never been attempted at this scale. Which is why they won't expect it, Jai-Hai replied. The Vengeance and Intrepid will emerge directly alongside their command hub. The rest of the fleet will appear at these key defensive nodes. She highlighted the locations on the display. All ships acknowledge ready, Captain, Lieutenant Juno reported. Jai-Hai took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first major offensive against the Empire. Its success or failure would set the tone for the entire war. Execute quantum jump. Space twisted around them. For a fraction of a second that felt like eternity, the ship existed in two places at once. Then reality snapped back into focus. The Vengeance emerged exactly where planned, less than 500 meters from the Caldarian command station. Through the viewports, Jai-Hai could see the shocked faces of Caldarian officers staring back at them from their own bridge. Defensive systems down, shouted the tactical officer. They're completely exposed. Fire EMP charges and deploy boarding teams, Jai-Hai commanded. Remember, we want prisoners and intact data systems. Across the sector, 7 other human warships appeared simultaneously at their designated targets. The perfectly coordinated attack overwhelmed the unprepared Caldarian defenses before they could even sound a general alarm. On the main Caldarian station, alarms blared as the lights flickered. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut too late to stop the human boarding teams who materialized directly inside using short-range quantum transporters, another technology the Empire didn't know humans possessed. Commander Jin Young received reports from the boarding teams. Station commander captured, Captain. Data systems secure. Minimal casualties on both sides. Jai-Hai nodded with satisfaction. Begin data extraction. I want everything they have on fleet movements and defense protocols. Within 20 minutes, the entire Deneb outpost was under human control. Caldarian prisoners were secured in their own detention areas, looking stunned at how quickly they had been defeated. 3 hours later, Jai-Hai faced the captured Caldarian station commander across an interrogation table. Commander Mincio translated as the alien officer spoke in his native tongue. Impossible, the Caldarian insisted. Human ships cannot jump without gates. Human weapons cannot penetrate our shields. This defies all intelligence reports. Jai-Hai leaned forward. Your reports were wrong. For 20 years, your emperor saw what we wanted him to see: outdated ships, limited weapons, predictable tactics. All while we studied your technology and developed countermeasures. The Caldarian's eyes widened. The diplomatic missions were genuine, Jai-Hai finished for him. Ambassador Park truly sought peace. But we're not fools. We prepared for the possibility that your empire would choose war. As the interrogation continued, Jai-Hai's communication officer interrupted with an urgent message. Captain, we're detecting quantum communications from the Caldarian homeworld. They're mobilizing their main battle fleet. Jai-Hai smiled slightly. Good. That means Emperor Taehan is taking us seriously now. She returned to the bridge where a secure transmission awaited her. Admiral Hyunbin's weathered face appeared on screen. Excellent work, Captain. The Deneb operation was a complete success. All 8 targets secured with minimal casualties. Thank you, Admiral. What's our next move? The Caldarians are responding exactly as predicted. They're pulling forces from their outer territories to defend their core worlds. His expression turned grim. But now comes the difficult part. Their main fleet still outnumbers us 5-1. Numbers aren't everything, Jai-Hai replied. Indeed. The Admiral nodded. You'll receive new orders within 12 hours. The Arcturus campaign begins next. After the transmission ended, Jai-Hai walked to the viewport and gazed at the captured Caldarian station. In the distance, she could see other human ships securing the sector. The element of surprise had given them this victory, but the real war was just beginning. Commander Jin Young joined her at the viewport. The crew is asking, do we really have a chance against their full might? Jai-Hai turned to face the crew on the bridge, all watching for her answer. The Caldarians have ruled space for 2,000 years, she said. They've forgotten how to truly fight. They've forgotten what it means to struggle for survival. Her voice carried across the silent bridge. Humanity has never forgotten. And now, we'll remind them why that matters. Admiral Hyunbin's eyes burned from lack of sleep as he studied the holographic display of the Arcturus system. 3 days of continuous battle had pushed both human and Caldarian forces to their limits. This was the confrontation that would decide the course of the war. Status report, he demanded, his voice rough from too many hours giving orders. General Minji stepped forward, her uniform showing signs of a recent firefight. The Caldarian main fleet has regrouped at these coordinates. She pointed to a dense cluster of red markers. They outnumber us 2-1 after our losses at Deneb and Procyon. And our hidden assets? Battle Group Phoenix is in position behind Arcturus Prime's moon. The Vengeance and her stealth squadron are maintaining position in the asteroid field. They remain undetected. Admiral Hyunbin nodded. The pieces were in place for humanity's most ambitious gamble yet. The Arcturus Nexus contained the largest Caldarian shipyard outside their home system. Capturing it would cripple their ability to replace lost ships. Signal all commanders, he ordered. Execute Thermopylae Protocol. Throughout the system, human captains received the coded message. Some faces paled, others hardened with determination. Everyone understood what the protocol meant, a sacrifice play that would cost many lives but might win the war. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, Captain Jun-hee turned to her crew. Battle stations. Prepare to break formation on my mark. The human fleet, which had been fighting a defensive battle, suddenly split into 3 distinct groups. The maneuver seemed to make no tactical sense, dividing their already inferior numbers. On his flagship, Caldarian Fleet Commander Taehwan laughed. The humans are panicking. Their formation has collapsed. He pointed to the smallest human battle group, now isolated. Concentrate fire on this section. Crush them quickly. Kaldarian warships surged forward, energy weapons blazing. The targeted human ships took devastating hits. Some exploded, others drifted powerless. The Kaldarian crews cheered as victory seemed within reach. Then Captain June he gave the order they'd been waiting for. Now! The damaged human ship suddenly released thousands of small objects. Kaldarian sensors initially classified them as debris, then as escape pods. They were neither. What are those? Fleet Commander Taehwan demanded as the objects accelerated toward his ships. His question was answered when the first wave hit. The debris were actually miniature quantum bombs, a technology the Kaldarians had thought impossible to stabilize. Each one carried the explosive force of a much larger weapon, and there were thousands. Explosions rippled across the Kaldarian formation. Ships lost power, shields failed, and confusion spread through their command network. At that exact moment, Battlegroup Phoenix emerged from behind Arcturus Prime's moon, while the Vengeance and her stealth squadron shot out from the asteroid field. The trap was sprung, with Kaldarian forces caught in a perfect crossfire. Admiral Hyunbin watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Deep within Kaldarian-controlled space, something else was happening. On 12 worlds simultaneously, human agents who had spent years establishing cover identities activated hidden resistance cells. Mining facilities exploded. Communication arrays went offline. Supply depots were raided. But the most significant action occurred on the planet below the Arcturus shipyard. There, a group led by Commander Dongwon, who had spent 3 years posing as a Kaldarian collaborator, seized control of the planetary defense grid. Instead of protecting the shipyard, the powerful weapon platforms now targeted it. On his flagship, Fleet Commander Taehwan received desperate messages from all directions. Impossible, he whispered as his tactical display showed Kaldarian positions falling across the sector. How could they coordinate this? The battle raged for another 19 hours. When it finally ended, the Arcturus shipyard was in human hands, 3/4 of the Kaldarian main fleet was destroyed or captured, and the strategic balance of the war had shifted completely. Emperor Taehan received the news in his throne room on the Kaldarian homeworld. His face remained impassive, but his hands shook with rage. How, he demanded of his military council. How could primitive humans do this? Grand Minister Hyojin stepped forward cautiously. Your Majesty, we have intercepted communications suggesting some noble houses provided information to the humans. There may be dissent within the Empire. The Emperor's eyes narrowed dangerously. Traitors. And there is more, continued Minister Hyojin, her voice dropping lower. Our intelligence division has uncovered evidence about Ambassador Park's assassination. What evidence? The order did not originate solely from your command, as you believed. There was interference from House Jaemin. They appear to have manipulated events to force this war, perhaps hoping for your downfall. The Emperor's face darkened with fury. For the first time, he felt something new when thinking about the humans. Fear. On the captured Arcturus station, Admiral Hyunbin received a transmission from Earth. President Minju's face appeared, somber but proud. The Arcturus victory exceeds all expectations, Admiral. The path to the Kaldarian homeworld now lies open. Hyunbin nodded wearily. Yes, Madam President. But at great cost. The final phase can now begin, she said. May the spirit of Ambassador Park guide us to a just conclusion. The Kaldarian homeworld of Astralis glowed blue-green against the darkness of space. Once, it had been forbidden for any non-Kaldarian ships to approach this sacred system. Now, 23 human warships hung in orbit, their weapon systems powered but not yet firing. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Captain Jaihai stared at the planet below. After 6 months of war, the final confrontation had arrived. The cost had been enormous: over 30,000 human lives lost, colonies damaged, ships destroyed. But the Kaldarian Empire had suffered far worse. Their once mighty fleet was reduced to defending their homeworld, and their empire was fracturing from within. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Commander Jin Young. "Ground forces standing by for deployment." Jai-Hai nodded. "Open a channel to the Imperial Palace." The main screen flickered, then showed the Caldarian throne room. Emperor Tahan sat rigidly, his silver eyes burning with hatred. Gone was the arrogance that had defined him at the peace talks. Now he looked cornered and dangerous. "Emperor Tahan," Jai-Hai began, "this is Captain Kim of the United Earth Forces. Our terms are simple: surrender your person and your government to human authority, or we will begin planetary bombardment." The Emperor's lips curled. "You would destroy a world of billions to punish one leader?" "We have no desire to harm civilians," Jai-Hai replied. "Our weapons can target military installations with precision. But make no mistake, we will use them if necessary." As they spoke, Admiral Hyunbin was leading a parallel operation. His smaller fleet had breached Australus's atmosphere, heading directly for the capital city. Quantum transport beams delivered special forces teams to key locations. The palace guards found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to appear from nowhere. On his throne, Emperor Tahan received urgent reports of fighting within the palace itself. "Impossible," he shouted. "How could they penetrate our defenses so quickly?" The answer came moments later when the doors to the throne room exploded inward. Admiral Hyunbin himself led the strike team, his weathered face set in grim determination. "Emperor Tahan," the admiral announced, "by authority of the United Earth Government, you are under arrest for the assassination of Ambassador Jaimon Park and for crimes against humanity." The emperor reached for a concealed weapon, but froze when a dozen weapons locked onto him. Slowly, he raised his hands. "You've won nothing," he hissed. "Kill me, and another will take my place. The Caldarian Empire has ruled the stars for 2,000 years. We cannot be defeated by upstart apes who barely learned to leave their planet." Admiral Hyunbin stepped closer. "Why did you order Ambassador Park's death? She came offering peace." The emperor's expression shifted, showing something like fear beneath the anger. "Because I saw what humans truly are. In just 1 century, you advanced from primitive chemical rockets to challenging our technology. Another century, and you would surpass us. I could not allow that." "So you killed her out of fear," Admiral Hyunbin said softly. "Out of necessity." The emperor's voice rose. "Your kind adapts too quickly. You solve problems we've struggled with for generations. You learn, you change, you evolve faster than any species we've encountered. You are a threat to the natural order." Before the admiral could respond, the throne room doors opened again. Several Caldarian nobles entered, led by Lady Haeun of House Jaemin. They looked not at the human soldiers, but at their emperor. "The High Council has convened," Lady Haeun announced. "Emperor Tahan, you are removed from power by unanimous vote. The assassination of the human ambassador against our laws of diplomatic protection, and your secret dealings with outlaw elements, have brought this war upon our people." Emperor Tahan's face contorted with rage. "Traitors! You conspired with the humans." "We chose survival," Lady Haeun replied simply. "And a new beginning." 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the reformed Caldarian government met aboard the Vengeance. Captain Jai-Hai and Admiral Hyunbin sat across from Lady Haeun and the newly appointed Caldarian Chancellor. "The terms are acceptable," the Chancellor said after reviewing the peace proposal. "Reparations will be paid for Ambassador Park's death. Disputed territories will be jointly administered. And we will establish a permanent diplomatic mission on Earth." President Minju, joining via quantum communication, nodded solemnly. "Then let peace begin today. Not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals." 1 year later, a statue was unveiled in the new Galactic Assembly building on neutral Proxima Station. It depicted Ambassador Jaimon Park extending her hand in friendship. The plaque bore words in both human and Caldarian language. "Her death began a war. Her memory brings peace." Captain Jai-Hai, now Admiral Kim, stood before the statue with Admiral Hyunbin and Lady Haeun. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Jai-Hai asked quietly. Sparing the Empire when we could have destroyed it? Admiral Hyunbin considered the question. Ambassador Park sought peace, not conquest. We honored her by remembering that, even in victory. Lady Heian nodded in agreement. And in doing so, you proved Emperor Taehan both right and wrong about humanity. You adapt quickly, you learn, you evolve. But your greatest strength wasn't your technology or your tactics. What was it? Asked Jai-Hai. Your capacity for mercy, Lady Heian replied. Something my people had forgotten until you reminded us. As visitors from a dozen worlds gathered around the memorial, humanity's place among the stars was secured not through conquest, but through the strength that comes after the choice to lower weapons and extend hands instead.